Hey guys, you're joining us today in Nintendo's Hall of White, which they've constructed in the Millbank Tower to show off the 3DS, which was the console that made such a splash at this year's E3. I'm joined by Mark and Jane, who are here to have a look at the console. Mark, were you impressed?
Very, very impressed. This is the first time I've seen it. I didn't see it at E3, and the effect works extremely well with the 3D. And not wearing glasses is an amazing thing to have achieved.
So Mark, tell us about the hardware. Its characteristics are similar to the DS, but there are a couple of noticeable differences.
Yeah, so there's a few changes. I think the biggest change you'll see is the screen at the top, which has now gone widescrreen, which is a very, very, very nice screen. The bottom screen's still there, that's still touchscreen. They've added a kind of analog stick, which they're calling like a slider, which is very similar to the PSP one. And there's two cameras on the back as well, which allow you to take 3D pictures.
Yeah, which is one of the demos that we saw.
Yeah.
It must be said, we don't know the tech specs just yet, but the screens certainly look a lot more high resolution than the old DS.
Yeah, definitely. The upper screen looks really lovely. And I'd say, in fact, the analog pad, whatever they're going to call it, is better than the PSPs. It feels really nice, actually. Yeah. And then the 3D slider on the right-hand side, I don't think we mentioned, which lets you flip between like flat and 3D on the go.
And somewhere in between as well.
And somewhere in between, as long as you're not watching a movie, in which case it's just 3D or nothing.
Yeah, you can just flip it off if you get bored or tired of the 3D.
Yeah,
we haven't played it enough to see if your eyes do get eye strain. We played it in short bursts. Most of the demos here run for a minute or two at a time. But how long, Mark, does it take you to kind of settle into the 3D? Sometimes it takes me about 20 seconds.
Yeah, so it definitely took me a few seconds to kind of see it. When you first look at it, you're trying to look into the screen too much, I think. It takes a little while for your eyes to adjust. But the great thing about it is the little 3D slider on there lets you adjust it to your eyes. So if you're having trouble like seeing it with it on full whack, you can just turn it down a little bit and reduce the eye strain.
Mm-hmm. There are a mixture of 10 videos and demos here. What are your favourites, Jane? What's caught your eye so far?
Well, we're talking about, I really like the Resident Evil Revelations. It's like a movie demo, but you can control the camera slightly. Not because the 3D is especially great. I think it's a little bit like flat layers rather than like a fully 3D effect. I'm excited for a Resident Evil game on the DS, to be honest. Most impressive, though, I thought was the Pilot Wings Resort, which, it's a flying game, and then there's a jetpack kind of demo as well. And that's playable, which is a nice start. And I think it shows off that the 3D is going to work really well with like flying games and racing games, because you kind of got like a vanishing point. There's a distance to look into, and I think that works really well with the 3D effect. And it was good fun as well.
It's actually really playable. We assume it's quite early stages, but Mark, do you think the best stuff's going to come from Nintendo? The in-house, the first-party stuff is going to be the best?
Well, usually with Nintendo that is the case. You've got your Marios, you've got your Mario Kart and Zeldas and things like that. But with the 3DS, they've got so much third-party backing for this. You've got like Resident Evil that's here, you've got Metal Gear that's here. And some of these games look absolutely fantastic. And other people like Capcom have announced games, Ubisoft, Square Enix. So yeah, I think there's a lot of support for this.
Mm-hmm. And there was one demo that showed all of the most of the Nintendo characters. So you had Samus from Metroid, you had Mario in Galaxy Guys, and also New Super Mario Brothers, and they had kind of like that, you could pan around in 3D. It gave you a tantalizing glimpse of what Mario Galaxy might look on this device. So while most of the demos at this stage are not playable, it's good to see that the potential's there. So Mark, what was your highlight from this 10 demo arena that we're in right now?
So like Jane, I really enjoy the Resident Evil stuff. Again, not because of the 3D, but for the graphical prowess of it. Looks amazing. On par with some of the GameCube stuff we've seen. In fact, Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube, it's really, really high-end stuff. But on the 3D side, Nintendogs, which is, is an odd choice, but I really, really liked it because, when the little dog comes up to the screen and his paws hang over the edge, his little nose pushes up, it's all in 3D. It's the cutest thing you'll ever see. And I can't wait to have a go with the cats as well on there. And if you can get dogs and cats together and dress them up in little hats, sold.
There you go. That's the future of 3D. Mark said it's Nintendogs and cats. The news story that's doing the rounds right now, though, is that this machine may cost $250 in the US. Is that too much for you, do you think?
Having played it now, I was at the point where I wanted to hand my wallet over right now and give them the money. It's a fantastic device. £250 is a little steep, if it's anywhere near that, or $250 even. But I think what they've got here is something really, really special with the 3D tech. It works extremely well. There's no glasses, so it's accessible to pretty much everyone. So yeah, I think it's 250 quid. I would just about stretch to it.
So Jane, are you going to be front of queue when this machine arrives, whenever it arrives? We're kind of assuming Q1 2011.
Yeah, well, we'll see what the prices are like. I don't think Nintendo will go short of people who are willing to pay that much, especially with the 3D camera sort of novelty. That, I mean, it's not a first in the market, but it's, for a 3D camera, that's not too bad, I think, as a kind of nice gimmick to take home. It's an added extra that I think people will want to pay for, possibly.
It's a really cool effect, isn't it? You had to play with it here.
Yeah, you can adjust it looks like you're adjusting the focal length or something, so that you adjust the 3D depth until the photo looks right. So, yeah, quite impressive.
Good stuff. All right, well, you can check out more about the Nintendo 3DS on the site. Just head over to GameSpot.com.